Welcome to the World Oil interview series on artificial intelligence in the energy industries, sponsored by Rockwell Automation. At Rockwell Automation, we're devoted to helping you achieve success. From the production to distribution of energy, we help industry leaders unlock performance, reduce risk, and drive smarter decisions. Whether you're optimizing production, enhancing safety, or navigating the future of industrial technology, our expertise is proven to deliver measurable outcomes. Together, we're powering transformation, enabling operational excellence, and building resilience for what's next. Because in the energy industry, success isn't just about what you do today. It's about what you're ready for tomorrow. And now on to the episode with your host, Global Energy Industry Development Manager, Greg Trostel.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode in the World Oil webcast podcast series on artificial intelligence in the energy industry. I am indeed Greg Trostel, and in this series, we're exploring the very wide topic of artificial intelligence as it relates to the energy industry. We certainly welcome your comments and your feedback on this episode, especially the positive stuff. And we're also wide open to hearing from individuals or companies who want to share their perspective or maybe their expertise in this area. So please reach out and contact us if you'd like to participate. In previous episodes, we kind of started with the basics of AI. We talked about structured and unstructured data and how to manage those two things. We heard from a Harvard professor that AI won't necessarily replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. I thought that was a pretty funny one. We then talked about how AI is affecting the world of automation, the perspective from Rockwell Automation and what's happening with AI and how AI could be a new discipline of automation and how it could also be revolutionizing or re-energizing the physical world, how people might want to start going back into plants and manufacturing sites and factory floors because the new technology and these great developments really make that a good place to work again. We also looked at the specifics of how AI helps with upstream oil and gas in terms of well management, well completions, protection of those wells. So we've touched on a lot of interesting topics, and today we want to dive into a little bit more into the optimization world. So I'm really excited to be speaking with Mr. Gil Cohen of Imubit. Hi, Gil. How are you?
Very good.
Good,
Greg.
good.
Thank you for
Imubit is
having me.
yeah, absolutely. Imubit's a leading provider of closed loop AI optimization, both from a technology and a services standpoint. So just a great topic to dive into. Gil happens to be the CEO and co-founder of Imubit, so obviously he's a great guest to have on. So Gil, I think maybe the best way to start is let's just open with a little bit about your background and how you managed to become a co-founder of an AI-based company. It's seemingly the perfect time to get into that. So yeah, a little bit of background would be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me here, Greg. Yeah. So we actually started Imubit in 2016, and it was actually not the right time. It was actually very early when
Right.
we got into the market.
Early's better
And in
than late,
fact,
but yeah.
correct. Yeah. And in fact, nobody actually really wanted to hear about AI. We, in fact, didn't even use the
Right.
acronym. We came into an industry that was burned heavily by the neural networks of the 1990s and 2000s, where neural networks were, based on the computing power of the time, the data limitations were very underwhelming in their performance. And we came in to educate folks about 10 years ago about the merits of deep learning. People didn't really know what that was. And those were neural networks of new magnitudes enabled by the cloud, enabled by computing and data access. And we basically had to prove to them that deep learning can actually solve problems that they couldn't solve before.
Right.
And it's not prone to the same limitations of the old neural networks. And we actually did a lot of education in that market. That was before things like ChatGPT kind of moved to the
Sure.
world, and we definitely saw some of the incumbent automation software providers start to see that need to
Right.
to to build in deep learning into their process. So yeah, it seems like the right time right now, but it's
Right. Right.
kind of a
Right.
long walk in the desert to kind of be here and be
Right.
positioned right now
And
in this
did you
time
have a,
where.
a personal background that led you into this field from the very beginning, or is this something that you kind of took on a little bit deeper into your career?
So my previous company, actually, I'm a let's just say myself. I'm not a chemical engineer. I'm
Mhm.
a electrical engineer and a mathematician. And my master's in electrical engineering, kind of a computer science sort of flavor.
Right.
And I actually founded a previous company that was in the silicon chip world, building software and silicon chips that was compressing signals inside of data centers for monitoring.
Right.
And we sold to engineers and companies like Intel and Nvidia
Hmm. Hmm.
and eventually we had very unique capabilities and inventions and our customers were telling us, "Wow, this is a very elegant and powerful inventions you got here, but we can kind of solve these problems in other ways." So
Right.
eventually, I ended up selling that company, and it was not a big company, to Nvidia,
Hmm.
and then we founded Imubit, and I realized that um, it's not it's one thing to follow this passion of building novel inventions,
Right. Right.
but in order to actually build a big business and a substantial business, it's about understanding where are those customers and where are those people that we can help them, by leveraging these inventions, these capabilities we're building to solve problems that couldn't be solved in other ways.
Is that
And
what got you then into the kind of the process
that's what,
industries perspective?
yeah. Basically,
Right.
I
Right.
was always a hardware guy. I didn't
Mm.
never, kind of looked at internet marketing and things like that. I was always kind of looking at the physical world, and we looked at
Right.
various areas. And at the time, we went into deep learning for time series. People were applying deep learning for audio, for speech, for text, for image,
Right.
and we really pioneered several things
Mm.
in applying deep learning on process data, and in fact applying it to control what's called reinforcement learning.
Right.
We've kind of built that over the years. We have over 10 patents for our
Okay.
technology, and we've applied this, yeah, in over 100 applications over the years.
Right. Right.
So we've
Right.
definitely been, like you said, it seems like the perfect time, but
Right.
it was a lot before.
Sure.
It always felt very early.
Right, right, a deep foundation. When we look at how, particularly the process industries, if we take a refinery, for example, and we look at how companies currently or maybe recent past did their operational strategies versus how they should be taking advantage of these
Yeah,
newer technologies, how does that affect how a company should approach their operations?
yeah. So let's take a step back for a second and think
Hmm.
of a refinery and ask, what is the biggest, what is the top concern? What are the top concerns of what would you say if I asked you, what's the number one concern of a plant manager?
Well, I would think you have this balance of production versus safe operations and
Yeah,
environmental control,
exactly.
and kind of the big
Yeah,
high level stuff, right?
exactly. It's in a way you could say it's that safety and stability. Am I going to get that call at 2 a.m.
Right,
and that I don't want to get? Is the plant running safely and stably? And then if the answer is yes, is my plant even going to exist in 10 years?
right, right.
Right. So it's
Mm,
that leads you into those highest priorities of that, the safety, the stability, the reliability, margin, compliance, environmental, as you mentioned, competency of the workforce.
right,
And those are the top priorities of leaders. And at Imubit, after doing over the years hundreds of workshops and assessments and a lot of these applications, we started seeing patterns. patterns that distinguish between high performers
Okay.
in plants that achieve those goals
Right.
that I just mentioned versus those that don't.
Mm.
And those that achieve those goals are those that excel at executing cross-functional operating strategies, right? That
Okay.
means that they have groups of people that are coordinated together in the operation of the plant, and they do it in a way that is rigorous and proactive and
Hmm.
disciplined versus those that are more reactive in running their
Right.
plants.
Right. Right. And you've actually seen a significant difference from one plant or one owner to another in the same industry?
Absolutely. In fact, you
Mm.
can see sometimes two plants that are running the same feedstock,
Hmm.
selling into the same market
Hmm.
with access to the same talent and the
Hmm.
same technology and the same capital. And you could see how their performance against these key goals is drastically different
Right.
as a result of how are they executing these coordinated strategies of
Okay.
operating
Okay.
the process.
Right. 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 Got it. And what w- you mentioned, I think, how well they perform together, whether they're a little bit more proactive than reactive. And again, is this kind of where these advanced tools and technologies start to come into play to kind of help that perspective?
Absolutely. This is where AI can actually come in and really help them move and progress in that journey
Right.
from being reactive to being more deliberate and more proactive in their execution.
Right.
And how does it really happen? So it starts with building the foundation of defining what those strategies are. It's
Hmm.
not about coming into a plant and saying, "Hey, the AI is going to run the plant for you. It
Right.
knows better than you how to run the plant." That's absolutely
Right.
not the approach that we see
Everybody's
as
worried about that,
successful.
but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that doesn't prove itself as a successful approach.
Right.
It's about starting with defining what they're already trying to do. They actually know it, so defining those strategies, and
Hmm.
then exploring and basically investigating how are those cross functional teams executing those strategies, and contextualizing basically that execution, understanding what's happening, how those different teams are operating and exchanging information, making decisions, taking action in the
Mm.
process, understanding how that happens and continuing with augmenting with augmenting
Right.
the human decisions, the operators and engineers, and giving them tools and systems to make better decisions at the right time. Whether it's at 2 a.m. in the morning of a Sunday, and then
Right.
continuing with automating decisions, right? With
Right.
creating those autonomous systems that are able to take a certain problem and make those decisions in real time on a 24/7 basis, looking at the right, controlling into those right objectives and constraints.
Right. So
So,
so
so
you,
that's
you
that.
guys are really leading. You kind of lead with a consulting angle. You don't lead with the technology right off the bat. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. It's
mhm.
it's this is in fact there's a lot of digital transformation aspect here, Greg. It's
Sure.
it's Imubit
Hmm.
is not just a technology company that throws software over the fence.
Right.
We're really looking at how that execution of those operating strategies is happening and how we can get them to that more mature and more advanced state and keep them there, and
Right.
and that includes a lot of that change management and a lot of that partnership, and and I think it is a privilege to have worked with these great men and women in these companies
Sure.
to create I think hundreds of years of collective experience we've had here at Imubit
Right.
in in really these in executing these programs, these
Right.
these
Right. Right. Right.
these
Right.
improvement programs.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. I think most people think of the capabilities of automation to deal mainly with process data, and kind
Yep.
of the hard numbers that fit it nicely into a column and rows of a spreadsheet. But we often hear too about the aspect of generative AI and whether that plays what whether that could play a role in the process industries as well, maybe outside of the pure process control, but in more of the um, control aspect, or what would I want to say, the planning aspect, the
Yeah,
estimating aspect, those kind of things. Are you guys seeing that same role of the Gen AI perspective?
absolutely. Yeah. So in the past, we only worked on process data, as you
Yeah,
mentioned, the sensor data that's being produced by the process.
right.
And now we're definitely seeing that human generated data.
Hmm.
There's reports and communication methods between people, that feeds into our system. And we started, as you mentioned, as a closed loop AI optimization company.
Right,
And the focus was on process control.
right,
And what we're doing right now is we're taking this approach of process control and we're generalizing this idea. Because what is process control? It's decisions and results.
hmm,
And you have certain objectives and constraints you're operating in. And we're trying to take that idea and generalizing it to make decisions and results in this cross-functional execution of the plan that includes planning and
right.
includes scheduling, includes maintenance, includes all those decisions.
Hmm.
So if you think of as an example of the way that a planner communicates with operations to break down monthly and weekly plans into daily operating orders. So a lot of that today is based on tribal knowledge
Right,
and behavioral norms.
right.
So you see, there's an opportunity to systemize that and and,
Yes,
uh, and and really help with that execution of of those strategies, including the communication, the cross-functional communication, and
right.
bring it into a much more proactive and rigorous state of execution, as we said before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To kind of go back to the first point about how you can have operators, in refineries, you'd have the quartiles, right? The first quartile down to the fourth quartile. But um, do you find that the most advanced operators also need help in the um, the AI applications that are more uh, generative, more human uh, developed? Because I wouldn't think that that's a topic most operators, even the top ones, have really covered very well yet.
Yeah, so we're definitely seeing that even the advanced ones,
Hmm.
uh, they they absolutely have an opportunity to leverage AI in this way that we're talking about
Right,
to 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 do this, definition and exploration of how they're executing and augmenting those decisions in an even better way. You definitely see that
right,
some people have some plants have these positions of a person that sometimes they grew in operations, they become this optimizer, and they're like this connective tissue between
right,
all those other roles, and you can kind of see that. And then AI can help those people and
sure.
empower them and get them a lot more effective. And then there's plants that don't have those people at all.
Right, 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 right. Interesting, interesting. Okay, great. Um, one of the other terms we hear sometimes is around this idea of a black box AI. Can you explain a little bit, maybe from Imubit's perspective, what that means, and how do we how do we make sure that we have the right level of transparency, that as we put these tools into place?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So neural networks are known for being like a black box,
Right,
which basically means you get these outputs and you don't understand the process of
right,
generating.
right.
Right. That's the sort of this black box concept, and
Hmm.
that is basically unacceptable in industrial production environments.
Right,
And engineers need to be able to explain decisions of systems, and that's really why you can't just take ChatGPT, for example,
right.
and have it run your plan for you.
Hmm.
It's unexplained and unpredictable, and that's one of the reasons that people like linear models, for example. And at Imubit, a lot of our research over the years has been dedicated to building these neural networks that are controllable in this way that they're curated, they're trained on a curated, engineered data set. Only your data as a customer and only on the specific sources of data that you want to use and the time periods that you want to use. And we also invested a lot of research in learning how to train the neural networks to build the relationships off of your data,
hmm
but respect the first principles that you're looking to see respected.
Right, right,
And
right.
that is actually not a simple thing to do,
hmm
because again, defining a linear model or just a first principle based model is that's easy. But then you lose the data driven approach, the listening to what the data is actually really telling you, moving away from
Right.
tribal knowledge and human biased assumptions. But you kind of want to know how this is kind of the balance, right? The
hmm
perfectly white box is a formula that you can define, and the output is a
Right,
formula of the input, and
right.
no black box there. We've been doing this for many years, many decades. We want to use the power of the data. We want to listen to the actual plan, but again, doing it in a way that's fully understandable, fully observable, and fully controllable too. Because sometimes the
Right,
data will be wrong. Sometimes that flow meter will be bad, and you want to kind of force material balance, things like that. So
right,
that's kind of
right.
how we're treating this.
Yeah, I would think I always say that that having quality data and having the right data is just such a necessary foundational step before you can go anywhere, right? I mean, everything kind of builds off of that data set. And so I would assume you guys run into that a lot, where sometimes you have to go
Yeah,
back to the very basics to make sure that the right data is available and that it's clean, it's good.
yeah. I think yes, and I think the one of the key challenges that we've overcome is how to do that without putting it on a customer and
Right,
creating let's just say unrealistic expectations of
right,
them getting the data perfectly ready and laid out, and it's about being able to build a system that allows you to build models
hmm
and quite easily visually understand what those models are learning, what
right,
those relationships what those neural networks are learning, what those models represent, and allowing you to quickly iterate on that data,
right,
and understand if I have, you know, various things. If I push more feet into a tower, the delta pressure will increase. This is a positive relationship. Exactly.
right,
So if I see something negative, it means I used the wrong variable. I did something wrong. That's a very
right,
simplified
right, right,
example.
right,
But when you start to look at multi-dimensional relationships, and you start to look at non-linear multi-dimensional relationships, it's very hard to humanly understand those relationships. And I think a lot of what we build at Imubit is really these visualization tools of high dimensional non-linear uh,
right,
functions or models, and allowing you to explore them and understand them and analyze them to quickly close that loop on updating your data and retraining the model and iterating those and basically we moved from what used to take us months
right.
to weeks to days and now into hours.
And it's amazing, and I guess that's the value of the computing power, and you know, AI as it's just such a broad topic, but just the idea that we have those capabilities now, or even five
Yeah.
years ago, 10 years ago, we didn't, right?
And yeah, and yes, but you got to remember, a lot of it is a very specific, definition of what you are trying to achieve. So you really have to
Right,
build the right software
right,
that
right.
does what we just discussed. Yeah,
Gotcha. So as kind of we get to the towards the end of our discussion, um, if we look fast forward from a Imubit perspective, from a general perspective, whichever way you'd like to do it, if you look forward 10 years, for example, what do we see as a AI enabled refinery or an AI enabled
yeah,
chemical plant or something in the process industries, in terms of maybe how strategies are developed, how decisions are made? For me, I find it almost impossible to look that far ahead, because 10 years ago I wouldn't have thought where
yeah,
we're at now. But kind of in your mind, what does a plant look like in 2035?
yeah, yeah. That's a good question, a hard one.
Yeah,
Um, I think look, I'll say this: when you look like 50 years into the future, it's almost like a rocket lifts off to Mars and
Right.
lands at Mars and unpacks itself into a refinery
Right.
and operates itself like a robot. So the plant is
Right.
a robot and that's it. And
Yeah.
I mean that's probably what's going to happen, right? At
Right.
some point,
Right.
it has to.
Right. Right.
Um, but the industry moves slowly. So
Hmm.
10 years it's kind of around the corner in a way,
Right.
right? In this
Right.
industry.
Right.
So let's get back into a more kind of a realistic sort of situation,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm obviously with all the caveats, out there.
Hmm.
Here's what I would see. Um, I would see that the process, the data from the process, and the human generated data, they feed into this agentic AI layer that understands this cross functional execution of the plant operation and kind of builds that context.
Right.
And people interact with it to understand what's going on and kind of aggregate all the knowledge. But then you have this layer of white box
Hmm.
controllable AI
Right.
that
Right.
is used sort of as this intermediary sort of layer between the agentic AI and these process actions to and that allows you to safely automate the plant using AI.
Right.
I do not believe um, and this is what we don't think, and our AI experts don't think that something like a chat GPT will just run the plant on its
Right.
own.
Right.
Um, there is some form of a safe of this layer, the human understandable, human engineered models, like we were the ones we were talking about,
Yep.
that enable you um, to actually make those moves, make those automated
Right.
decisions.
Right. When you mention agentic AI, just for those folks that maybe aren't completely familiar, this is kind of the the technology that is able to make decisions, right? And you've taught the machines to be able to make a certain level of decisions, but we're still saying that the overall guidance, the overall objective, still has to come from people.
Yeah, there's yeah. When people talk about agentic AI, they talk about basically a piece of uh, some form of an entity that not only follows a given procedure
Hmm.
of iterate, you know, 5 times and giving the best out of five.
Right.
It's actually some form of entity that figures out what to do and what's the workflow. Kind of builds its own workflow, if you will, to
Right.
solve a certain problem. That's maybe close to the definition of agentic AI. And the idea here is, as you said, it's the these AI agents will not actually make the final decisions on moving valves
Right.
at a plant in 10 years in
Right.
a way that can cause severe safety environmental issues. We do not believe that connection will happen in the next 10 years
Right. Right.
without
Interesting.
that layer of engineered models.
Yep, yep, very interesting. And then finally, Gil, maybe a topic that's near and dear to my heart, as we close. Um, eh, Again, from maybe Imubit's perspective or broader, uh, do these technologies, these developing technologies, are we able to begin to attract more talent into the process industries, for example, or into the energy industry? That's always a big challenge for us, and I'm hoping that a lot of these tools and a lot of this development is interesting for the next generation of
Yeah,
folks.
yeah, absolutely. So if you go into a random control room in
Hmm.
2025, you know exactly what you're going to see. You're going to see 30, 40, 50-year-old software on those screens.
Right,
And we see these companies adopting and scaling solutions like Imubits. And they do that to enable chemical engineers to essentially keep honing in on their chemical engineering skills at the plant,
right,
but at the same time, not missing out on the greatest technological and business revolution of our time.
right, right. Exactly.
And yeah, and those, if you think of those new entrants to the industry operation, to the industrial operation,
Right.
This basically AI allows them to accumulate deep knowledge of the process of the plant, probably 10 or more X faster
Right.
than previous generations.
Yep.
And they don't need to shadow somebody for 5 years
Right.
to learn a
Right.
unit.
Right.
There's all
Right.
these systems and simulators and all these things they can use.
Right.
Essentially, the AI enables them to explore new solutions to problems
Hmm.
rather than relying on the tribal knowledge that's
Right.
been around the plant for years.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that's what we see.
Yeah, that's a really interesting aspect because I know even 10 or 15 years ago, we were, everybody was all worried about the graying of the workforce and how all of the knowledge was going to leave with that flow of retirements and wave of retirements. But I agree. I think this technology gives us such a better chance to not only not lose that knowledge, but maybe also to, um, you know, learn better ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's great. That's great. Well, I hope everyone really enjoyed this conversation. I certainly did, Gil. This was great, and I think it's really great to have this very quick conversation about how you guys see the industry, how you see the technology changing the industry. I'd certainly encourage folks to reach out to myself or Gil if you want to learn more about specifically what Imubit's doing. Thanks again, Gil, for taking the time and the
Yeah.
effort to jump on with us. I think that's great. Thank you, Imubit, for participation in this episode. Certainly encourage people to check out imubit.com. I'd also like to thank Rockwell, as I always do, for sponsoring the season of episodes on AI and technology, or AI and energy. We're certainly planning, again, more in-depth conversations about specific topics such as cybersecurity, sustainability, even the financial aspects of our industry, where we really think AI is going to make a huge difference. So, thanks again, Gil, very much, and thank you everybody
Yeah.
for watching and listening. And take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. All right.
Thanks for tuning in to our show. Please check out the show notes for the links we discussed in the podcast. We value your opinions, so if you have any questions or comments, kindly email them to us at deepdive@worldoil.com. Additionally, we'd appreciate it if you could rate us on your preferred podcast listening app. Lastly, don't forget to visit worldoil.com for the latest technical articles and news about the oil and gas industry.